Hey guys, how's it going? Greenville Gear. Thanks as always for tuning in. Hope you're all having fun in the hobby. In this world with work and life, cards are such a fun escape. And so I hope you all find the hobby that escape like I do. It's a lot of fun to think about cards and collect cards and search for cards and listen to content about cards, watch videos about cards. I love it all. So hope you're having fun too. Today I have 4 cards to show you that I have picked up um, at various points, partly over the summer, perhaps, maybe into the fall. So I've been saving some of these for you, and excited to show them. Basically, this is an extension of my 1950s and 1960s Hall of Famers collection, which has now spread a little bit into the 1930s and the 1940s. I've always been a T206 collector. If you watch the channel, you certainly know that, and I love collecting them in all shapes and sizes and forms and so on. But the Hall of Famer run has been a lot of fun to work on, and at some point I'll show my case maybe. I have a big, they call it an extra large Zion case that I've been collecting in and just having a lot of fun. But anyway, let's get to these cards. Let me show you these Hall of Famers. It's 4 cards. It's 3 different Hall of Famers. And I'll go in order of the years, and I'll have that ready to go. But here's the first card, and I think it's my first card from this set. It's a 1933 Travis Jackson. His nickname would be Stonewall. I'll talk more about that in just a second. I think I've had some 33 Goudies before in my life, maybe some commons or something, and I probably maybe mistakenly sold them, but was turning that into, T206 cards or something like that. So no regrets. But there's the big league chewing gum back for this card, and a little bit about Jackson. But I'll tell you about Jackson because I think he's an interesting guy. Actually, I'll tell you about all the guys tonight. It's been a lot of fun to kind of research some of these cards and some of these players. So Jackson was a shortstop, played for, I don't know, I think 13 or 14 years for the New York Giants, and got the nickname Stonewall because he was a really good defensive player, and I guess he had made some famous double play out in the 1920s, and so a New York writer gave him that nickname. I guess Jackson wasn't thrilled about it. He was from Arkansas, but didn't love the reference to the Civil War. But just sat at the real heart of the Giants infield during the 1920s, the 1930s. Steady hand, I guess strong arm shortstop from everything you read. His manager was John McGraw. And he helped the Giants win a lot of pennants, including the 1933 World Series. So he was just an all-around good baseball player, more than any one standout kind of statistic. And so when you read about him or look at his baseball reference, you won't be blown away by his stats, which is a theme actually of a couple of other players here that I'll show you. But he's in the Hall of Fame. And for me, that's good enough. And so he was elected in 1982 by the Veterans Committee. So there's the Stonewall Jackson. I mean, what a card. I love that deep blue. Just really happy to add that to my collection. So anyway, I've got a Goudie now in my collection, which is really, really fun, a 33 Goudie. Speaking of Goudies, I have a 1934 Goudie to show you. And if we're talking about guys who were kind of more influential in terms of filling the stat line, I think this is a guy that we might talk about. This is Charles, as you see here, Chuck Klein, who was an outfielder of the late 20s, 1930s into the early 1940s. So this is a 1934 Goudie. And he also became an inductee into the Hall of Fame in 1980. But he was a hitter. He won the 1933 Triple Crown, and he won the MVP in 1932. Led the league in home runs 4 times. So on this part of his career in the 1930s was his kind of strongest part. Just an absolute nightmare for pitchers. There's the back of his card here. This is a 1934, again, Goudie, as I mentioned. So the Jackson is a 33. This is a 34. So it's nice to have examples of these cards in my collection because I don't think I had them. With the Lou Gehrig says, just gorgeous. This is a well-loved card. There's no doubt about it. but nicely centered and so on. Anyway, Klein is just a really fearsome hitter, well, or was, in the 1930s. And hit 4 home runs in one game, almost had a 5th home run. I guess it bounced off the top of the wall. So really, really interesting. So that's Chuck Klein, and that's the 1934 Gowdy. Excited about that one, and just a real beauty. So pretty cool to have these cards here. Maybe what I can do too is put Jackson over here as well. But I've got 2 more cards to show you. There's the Stonewall card. Yeah, so the Chuck Klein is in a PSA too. But again, if you look at it from this distance, just here on display, what a beauty. I just am excited about that card. And in some ways, I think this Chuck Klein was my first 30s, 40s card that I picked up. I just saw it and had sort of tracked it for a while, and just, I love the swing and all that. So was happy to get it. Then I saw the Jackson card, and also for similar reasons, just a beautiful baseball card. Okay, let's get to our next guy. And it's another guy who is in the Hall of Fame, but sort of the Travis Jackson variety, not necessarily a guy who filled a lot of stat lines or anything like that, but a really good baseball player and elected to the Hall of Fame. And this is a 1936 Gowdy, and this is Rick Farrell. And this is an interesting set because I knew it when I bought it, but it was actually a game, and I'm learning a little bit more about it, and many of you can probably leave some comments and tell me more about the set. But as a baseball card, I just thought it was a great card. 1936, it's pre-war. And like I mentioned, Farrell was a Hall of Famer and a catcher, mostly in the 30s, but also into the 1940s, elected by the Veterans Committee in 1984. Played for a bunch of teams. He's here in a Boston Red Sox uniform, which I also liked, but he also played for the St. Louis Browns and the Senators. I think widely considered one of the best defensive catchers in baseball, and so Rick Farrell gets into the Hall of Fame not for, again, a prolific hitting career by any stretch. He was a .281 lifetime hitter. But he caught 1,800 games, actually more than 1,800 games, without modern catching gear and all of that kind of stuff. Also had the distinction of hitting a home run off of his brother, Wes Farrell. And so I think they have the distinction of being the only batter-pitcher brother duo in MLB history to each homer off the other in the same game. Kind of a weird statistic, but a cool story nevertheless. So that's Rick Farrell, one of the kind of low-key, better defensive catchers in baseball history, and is, as I mentioned, a Hall of Famer. And so I was happy to pick up the 36 Gowdy. So 33 Gowdy, 34 Gowdy, and a 36 Gowdy, all new to my collection, which is really cool. And then the last card that I have to show you in this video is my last kind of pre-war Hall of Famer. And it's a player that we've already seen, and it is Chuck Klein. And so there's a Chuck Klein that I added to the collection. This is a 1940 play ball. And so, again, I've owned some play balls, mostly commons, that I turned around and are selling or sold to kind of upgrade my collection. You know, I sell cards only to buy cards. But there it is. So really like this card. There's a little better focus for you. So Chuck Klein, kind of later in his career struggled a bit, obviously. He was kind of in the twilight of his career by this point. But there it is, the 1944 play ball, and in a PSA 2.5. And so, again, kind of the first permanent 1940 play ball in my collection. This is kind of the sweet spot for me, as you saw probably in this video. 2, 2.5, 3 seems like a good spot. I do like to keep these in a PSA slab for this part of my collection, 30s through 60s, 70s Hall of Famers. I'm also kind of slab-gnostic about T206 cards and those kinds of things, but for this part of my collection, I'm not. I like to keep them all consistent. So shout out Mike Baseball Collector, who always talks about being slab-gnostic, and his collection is PSA only. I don't necessarily stick to that, but as I mentioned, for this sort of subsection of my collection of golden age of cardboard, so to speak, era, golden age of cards, it's just kind of fun to think about keeping it all consistent in uniform. So anyway, there's the play ball. Really excited. And here's the other Chuck Klein one more time in the 34 Gaudy. And then in the back, you can see Rick Farrell and Travis Jackson. Just a lot of fun to collect these, and just a real fun way to collect. And I'm just having a blast. I hope you all are having fun too. If you have a favorite of these four, let me know. If you have more fun facts about any of these players, I'd love to hear those too. As I kind of learn more about some of these Hall of Famers that I didn't really know much about, and I learn more about them. It's really kind of been fun too to learn more about the history of the game. So anyway, thanks again. I'll see you on the next video. And please check out my other videos. Lots of videos about Hall of Famers, vintage cards, all that kind of stuff. So do check them out. All right, take care.